Hi everyone, I'm April and you're watching the Tangled Cat Speaks. I think I'm going to stop saying the episode numbers because I don't remember what it is. We're getting so far up in the numbers that I'm forgetful. So, good news. I finished the socks, the 3 little socks for my niece's kids, the ones that I was using, the Pandy's Jewels squidgy base in the Tribbles colorway, and each pair had 3 different colored, that sounds weird, I was just going to say each pair had 3 different colored toes, but that makes it sound like my great nieces and nephews 3 toes. Each pair had a different contrast color. That's better. So I did finish those, and I shipped those off yesterday. I didn't get a chance to get a finished photograph of the last pair that had the brown contrast. But I'm super excited for when my niece gets them and she puts them on her little kiddos, and she'll send me some, hopefully she'll send me some cute pictures. I hope they fit. I hope they fit. It's so nerve-wracking to be making a pair of socks for someone that you're only going off of basic shoe size measurements, and you're not actually measuring firsthand. You're not trying them on as you go. So I hope they fit. But I suppose if anything, they can be put on some stuffed animals or something. I don't know. But they're on the way, and as soon as I get some photos from my niece, I will be sharing those with you very excitedly. So that's that. I don't have it. I forgot to grab it, but I didn't have actually as much of the Tribbles yarn, the orange. I didn't have as much of that left over as I had thought, because I believe I had told you I was gonna, oh, sorry, I kicked it. I believe I had told you I was going to dye up, I was going to over dye the rest of that yarn just to see what kind of colors I could get with, but really I don't have very much of that left. So that tiny little bit of yarn is going to go into the cat mug that I showed you before for all my super minis, which will be eventually part of the Fiddly Bits cowl that I also talked about before. But I did do some other dyeing. So since I got something done, yay, hallelujah, I got something done. I got another yarn that I have had for years. It was a yarn that I bought back when I very first started knitting. My first forays into local knitting shops and seeing what they have, and I wanted to make beanies for my sons, and I had gotten 2 different colorways in the same yarn. It's the Vibra Natura brand, I believe that's how you say it, and it's the Yummy base, and it's listed as a sport weight, but it's more, I would say, I guess it's a sport weight. I think of it more as like a heavy fingering weight. Anyway, the colorway that I did make 2 beanies. One boy lost it, and the other boy, he wore it for a little while. Gosh, they were way young when this happened. The other boy, he got, I think he left it somewhere, and I think one of the cats got a hold of it, if I remember right. I don't really remember. I just know he came to me and said that there's a hole, and sure enough, there was a couple of breaks inside, you know, along the different parts of the hat. So, over the years, I pulled it out. Over the years, I meant to reknit the hat, and then his tastes kind of changed color-wise. So I didn't end up doing anything else with that yarn. So I've had this frog yarn in my stash for years and years and years. And so now that I got my package from in the mail, I got the Wilton's food coloring gels. Oh, there we go. I got these, and there's 12 little vials in here, 12 different colors. They're very small, but they're very, very concentrated color. And I decided that I was going to get that yarn. Since it had breaks in it, some of the it was wound. Some of it was wound into little balls, and then the rest of it was wound into a bigger ball. Alas, not that big, a little bit smaller. But I went ahead and I made several different minis, all about anywhere from 11 to 16 or 17 grams each. Just random sizes, and I did random sizes on purpose so that I could use it later in sort of a. I was originally thinking maybe some stripy socks, but then after seeing what I did with them with the food coloring, I think I want to make a cowl because they turned out so pretty. But I did do the random sizes on purpose so that the stripes would be different and give it a little bit more interest, I think. We'll see how that works out. I don't know. But the colorway was called Celestial Blue. And I really don't see celestial blue. It's kind of a bland blue with some grays in there. It really is very bland. It's not a bad colorway. I just fell out of love with it. And like I said, my son's color choices as he grew up also changed. He's more into this kind of color than he is blue. So it's more like of a grayish blue. And it sat and it sat. And I finally went ahead and I got 8 colors out of there. And I got some I got the random sized minis and dyed them all up, each a different color, over dyed, I should say. So these are the minis that I ended up with. I'm so excited. It went from this to these. I'm so excited. Now you know why I no longer want to make socks out of this. Although I still could, but I think that if I find the right cowl pattern, that's what this is going to be. Who knows? Maybe I'll just come up with my own dang pattern, because why not? I don't know. I'm not making any promises on that front. But I'm going to go over the colors really quickly and tell you what I did to get this bluish, grayish color to change. So the first one I started with the golden yellow. And as you would expect, yellow and blue make a greenish color. And it's a yellowy green for sure. Kind of a not quite moss. It kind of makes me think of old dandelions, but maybe not quite that yellow. But definitely, and I didn't really use a whole lot of color. I just literally, I had a saucepan, a small 3-cup saucepan, and I put in 2 cups of water, and I put in a teaspoon, maybe 2 teaspoons of vinegar. And then I got the end of, I don't know if you've ever seen them. I can't remember if it was Pampered Chef I got it from, but it's this orange plastic thing that you peel grapefruits with. I love that thing. Love that thing. Anyway, I got the blunt end of that. It's kind of flat and squared off. And I literally just dipped it into the color, the food coloring, just enough to coat the tip. Not even to get like a glob, just to coat the tool, whatever it's called, the grapefruit tool, and dissolved it in the vinegar water that I had heating up in the saucepan. So very, very little color, because I knew that my minis were small and I wasn't going to need a whole lot of color in the dye bath. So that's what I did. I left it in there till the golden yellow color exhausted, and I got this one. Super pretty. So the color did exhaust. I didn't have to add more water or more vinegar. I still had plenty. The next one that I used was the color Copper. And look at what it did with this blue. It made it this rusty brown color. And I love that, you know, it wasn't such a heavy, the dye baths that I used weren't so heavy that it took away all of the variegation. And some of the blue on this kind of is still there in some of the inner spots, but I like that. I love how this came out, this copper color mixed with this grayish blue. I love it. It is very autumnal. So again, I let it exhaust. I didn't actually, after dyeing all 8 skeins, I think I only had to replenish the vinegar water solution by half a cup towards the end, because I did 8 mini skeins. The last 2 I did have to add a little bit more of the vinegar water solution, which I had on standby. But anyway, so I just kept exhausting the dye bath and then adding the next color. So the next color that I went to was the red, and I don't know why they're red. They call it No Taste Red. I don't know if it'll focus. But I don't know why they call it No Taste. I mean, do they have a red that has taste? I don't understand. Anyway, No Taste Red. And this one is like a burgundy-ish kind of color. And, you know, it is very, very different than the copper. This is definitely more rusty, and this has the burgundy-ish red, which is funny because I do have a burgundy color in the Wilton's box, but I didn't use the burgundy because I was planning on it, but then I changed my mind because I didn't want to have too many of similar colors. So yeah, amazing. So much fun. Then the next color I used was the pink. And this one did exactly what you'd expect, pink and blue, and I ended up with this really fun fuchsia purpley color, like super fun. I love this one. I think this one is one of my favorites. And then the next one, and then again, another obvious outcome, I used the violet color. And this is definitely more of a periwinkle lavender. But look at how bright it is compared to the bland original color. Like, I'm super, super happy now. And then after that, what was the next one I went to? Oh, I did black. And this one really deepened the original color, which I love. And it does have a slightly bluer undertone, but love that one too. Super exciting. Then after that, I used the teal, and this one is just came out so vibrant. I was very, very stunned with this one. I didn't think it was going to be that teal, and I love it. That is, to me, the perfect color of teal. And it just so happens that this is also the color teal that I've used several times to make things for my son's school colors, high school colors. So it's beautiful. I love how that one turned out so much. This is my number 1 favorite. The one after that would be the pink. Loving it. And then the last color that I used was the Kelly green. And that one picked up very saturated as well. And again, like I said, I was only dipping that plastic grapefruit tool just enough to coat the end of it, just the tip of it, and I got some way vibrant green here. Beautiful. So I got all my minis, and I love it. I love, love, love what happened with them. So I went from having kind of a blah, meh kind of yarn to having woohoo, fabulous, wonderful color yarns. Super excited. I think that because it kind of ends up in like a rainbow progression, the way that I did them, I'll put a picture here of how I laid them out, which you might have already seen on my Instagram. Kind of like a rainbow progression, and that's probably how I'm going to knit them up, whether it ends up being socks or a cowl, but I'm leaning more towards a cowl. I want to maybe find some sort of slip stitch pattern. I don't know if I want to make like a long narrow loop to double up if I need to, or if I want to make something more close, you know, one single short loop. I have no idea what I want to do, but I'm super excited. Possibilities are now endless with this yarn, because before it just sat and sat and sat for years. So yay, that's what I did. It didn't actually even take me very long. I would say it took me anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour to get all the dyeing itself done. There was a little bit more time involved as far as rinsing and getting them all hung so that they could dry overnight. But it was so fun, and I really, really enjoyed it. And it ended up taking up some of the night that I had planned, because that night I was supposed to go to my son's first home football game, which we went, but they ended up delaying it by an hour and a half. It was supposed to start at 7 p.m. and they ended up delaying it because we were having a crazy lightning storm. So every time lightning would strike, they kept delaying it another few minutes and another few minutes. It ended up being an hour and a half, but I had to leave because knowing that the game hadn't even started yet and it was already going to be late by the time we were done. And I had to work very early in the morning. So I ended up leaving. I didn't get to see his first game, and they won. And I'm very bummed that I didn't get to see that. But I did have to go to work in the morning, and knowing that I was probably, the longer I stayed, it was going to be getting on closer to 11 o'clock, midnight before I got home. And 4:30 comes very, very quickly in the morning. 4:30 in the morning, that alarm goes off, and if I stay up late, that's terrible, and that's not good for anyone. So I missed the game. So that's what I did in lieu of that. I went home, pulled out my dyes and my yarn and my vinegar, and went to town. So there you go. So yesterday was September 1st, and it was the official start date of the Hohi Locatelli Fall Knit-Along. And I signed up. You have to actually officially sign up if you want to be involved in prizes, and I think those sign-ups are already closed, but it's very interesting. I've never been in a knit-along where you actually have to go to another place and officially sign up. So it's kind of interesting. So I signed up for 3 different projects, and I think I mentioned it before. I'm going to do the 3-color cashmere cowl. I'm also going to do the ley lines shawl, but I'm not going to get to those 2 quite yet. We've got from now September 1st to, I believe it's November 30th. So that's 3 months of knitting. So I'm planning on spreading those things out. I did 3 projects. The 3rd project is what I'm going to start tonight, which is the 2-color socks. But I'm planning on spreading them out 1 each month, hopefully, and depending on how quickly I can get things done. So these, I'm going to remind you, these are the 3 colors that I'm using. This one I already split into 2 balls because for whatever reason there was a break in the original skein when I went to kick them up. So this is the contrast color. This is going to be the main color. This one is Nerd Girls yarn on the Bounce and Stomp base with, gosh, my hands are shaking this morning. Too much coffee. The colorway was eyes open, chin up, smiles on, something like that. It was a quote from the Divergent book and movie, which I thought was very fun. So the grays, and then this rusty colorway from 3 Irish Girls on the Adorn base, and this is the colorway Cognac. So I've got a cool color and a warm color working together. So that's what I'm going to start tonight. Super, super excited. Woohoo! But fall is here, or it's at least knocking on the door. It's very, very close. I actually had to turn off sorry, my nose is itchy. I had to turn off our air conditioning last night because it got kind of chilly in here. I was like, I don't mind it being a little cold in the house, but we are in a new home and we don't have carpet anymore. So there's the wood floors, and I had socks on because I always have knitted socks on, and I didn't really notice how cold the floor was until I looked over. My son pointed out that my cat was just sitting in front of the front door, And I was like, well, that's weird. Why is she just sitting there? Is she suddenly becoming this, you know, guard cat? But no, she was sitting on the little rug that I have in the doorway, the entry of the doorway. So her paws must have been a little cold walking on the hardwood floors. So she was sitting, she would like run really quick from carpet to carpet, because I've got one big one, you know, like an area rug in the living room, and then I've got the one in front of the entry in the doorway, and then I've got some on either side of my bed. So she was just running from carpet to carpet and trying to quickly get off of the cold floors, and I was like, oh, the floors must be cold. So I turned off the air, and so fall is coming. It's very, very close, and I love it. Fall is my favorite season. You know, it's boot season, and it's big sweater season, and socks, and, you know, all of the fun stuff, and all of the stuff that I like to knit. So with that in mind, I'm going to show you a project that I did sometime last year. I can't remember the exact date. But it is a pattern that I designed, and it is on my Ravelry store. It's definitely autumnal. Let me see, which is the front side? I don't remember. This one. So this is my Breaking Leaves shawl. And as you can see, it's an interlock based pattern, and it's a very large rectangle, and the colors are fabulous. Again, Miss Julia from Pandia's Jewels is who did these wonderful colors. It's actually a tweed base, so you can see there's little nubbies in the tweed. I don't know what those are called. I know there's a name, but I just can't recall what the name is. So this is her Aran tweed base, and the colorways are Harvest. This orange here is Harvest. This is Honeymead, and this one was called Elder Tree. It's so pretty. The colors just spoke to me, and I knew that I wanted something big and heavy, and so I love it. So it's a large rectangular wrap done with interlock, and it's called Breaking Leaves because I came up with this lacy leaf pattern in here. But I had so much fun making this. I love doing interlock. It's just, you're only working on a few stitches at a time, and it doesn't feel like your rows are endless. So that's what I did with this. And again, this is a pattern on my Ravelry store. It's a $4 pattern, and I thought I would show it to you now because fall, like I said, is knocking on our doors, and hopefully if you'd like to make this, you have enough time to get it done before fall really sets in. Now the reason why I named this shawl Breaking Leaves is because at the time that I decided I wanted to make something with these colors, I was watching a movie, and it kind of played into what was in my head. I had just finished watching a movie called Parked. I talked before about an actor in Ireland that I really like, and his name is Colin Morgan. I found this movie because he's in it. He's one of the lead characters in this movie. It's set in Ireland. Very heavy Irish accents, a little bit hard to hear. The DVD that I have has subtitles because the Irish accent is very, very thick on there. It's English, but it's very heavily accented. Anyway, so the movie is set in Ireland, and it's about these two men who are living out of their cars in a parking lot, basically. And one is a younger guy, and he is obviously on drugs a lot of the time. Apparently, you know, displaced from his family because of that. And the other man is an older man who was laid off from his job, and he hasn't been able to find work. And so that ended up being, you know, the reason why he has to live out of his car, and he's trying to get help to resolve that situation from the government and all of this stuff. Anyway, these two end up meeting because they're in the same parking lot, and they become unlikely friends because they're from very different backgrounds, they're different generations, and they learn a lot from each other. They teach each other different things, and mostly it's the young kid with the addiction that seems to have a lot of insight that the uptight older man just really never saw. So they learn a lot from each other. And there's this particular scene in the movie where they're kind of sitting, they go for a drive because, I mean, they basically live in this parking lot, so they drive around to other places to hang out because, you know, you don't want to hang out at home. So they end up in this wooded area. There's trees everywhere, and the younger man, he says something along the lines of, he asks the older man a question: have you ever seen the actual moment when a leaf breaks from its branch? And it caught the question caught the other man off guard, and he was like, no, I don't believe that I have. And the younger man says, it's a very beautiful thing. And so as I was trying to come up with an idea for this shawl, I was thinking leaves that had fallen off the branches onto the ground and kind of littered the base of the tree, and, you know, all of the beautiful things that we love, you know, piles and piles of fallen leaves. And that line really did make me think, have I ever seen the moment when the leaf snaps off the branch and floats to the ground? I've never seen that, and it was just a very interesting line to me. And so that was always in the back of my mind while I was designing and knitting this project. So that's why I named it Breaking Leaves. Just a very interesting line from a very poignant and interesting movie. So there you go. If you'd like to knit that, it is on my Ravelry store, and again, it's only $4. That's really all I've got right now. I didn't get a whole lot of reading done. When I'm driving, I'm still listening to the Mary Queen of Scots biography by Antonia Fraser. Still listening to that in my car. I haven't gotten my next book for Agatha Christie, The Delicious Death read-along. It's The Hollow, but I haven't gotten that yet from the library. I should be getting that very soon. But I think that there's also the movie adaptation starring David Suchet in the Hercule Poirot character. I believe there's a version of that here on YouTube, so I think I'm going to watch that while I'm waiting for the book to come in. Very, very, very excited to do that. I've got a few things that I've got to do today, which is why I kind of podcast a little bit early. If you haven't noticed, the sun was slowly coming up and the light was changing a little bit. So I had to podcast very early today because I've got a lot of things to do, and then I've got to go to work in the evening. So I just wanted to come visit with y'all real quick and show you what I got, and not really show you because I didn't even get to show you the socks because I've already mailed them off. And speaking of socks and autumn, fall, these are some of my very first pair. Oh, look, they're already fuzzy and pilled here. Let's just get them off. But these are some of my very first socks, and I'm going to put them on right now. I don't know what yarn this was. It's obviously a self-striping yarn. I don't know the name. This is another one of those mysterious random balls that I somehow inherited. And I made shorty socks. This one had a heel flap and gusset, and this one was the partridge heel, or eye of partridge heel. Love it. These are my favorite, you know, when autumn starts coming around and I start my very first socks of the season. I always go for these ones because of the color. Fall, warm, cozy, super excited. So that's, like I said, about all I've got right now. Hopefully I have, oh no, that's not all. Lying. I'm totally lying to you right now. So I talked a little bit about my Thrive shawl from Josh Reich-Zerbinski and how I was having some hiccup in my brain and I couldn't figure out why I was messing up this particular section. Well, that's the backside. I got a notification from the designer on Ravelry, and apparently there was some sort of number error in the section that I was working on, and that was giving me a hard time. So I'm not crazy, and yay for the designer, you know, picking up on that rather quickly and getting it corrected just as quickly. So that is awesome. I did spend my time ripping it back, re-knitting it, and now everything works, and I'm super happy, and now I can move forward. So that's what I was working on. I'm basically back to where I was the last time I showed you this, but that's okay. Now I know the numbers are right. Everything further along in the pattern is going to work out, and that takes some stress off of, because I was worried that because I was fudging some of the numbers that it was going to mess up what I was doing, what I was going to have to do moving forward. So glad I got my correction. And it's always nice when you have patterns from a designer who get on that really quickly, because there have been times where, well, actually it only happened once, but I did contact a designer one time because there was just something I wasn't getting about the pattern, and I asked a question and they never responded to me. So I never ended up finishing that particular project. I don't remember now which project it was, which pattern or which designer, but I just remember it was very frustrating because I had a question, and there were several comments on that pattern's comment page, and nobody got any any answers to those questions from this designer. So it was very disappointing. So when you get a designer who does respond to questions, who does update their patterns, who does make corrections in a very timely manner, it's very, very nice. We all make mistakes, and that's perfectly fine, but if you're going to put something out there, at least be there to give a little bit of support if you can. So I'm very thankful to Josh for that. So now I can move forward with my wonderful, wonderful Thrive shawl that I'm super excited about. So I'm going to go ahead and get going so I can get some things done, and I will see you guys next week. I hope that if fall is starting to show its little head in your area, that you've got something to keep you warm, and enjoy the rest of your week. Talk to you later. Hallelujah. Hallelujah.